Now we're going to look at factoring the difference of two squares. When I look at the setup of the original problem, we'll notice that it's two terms, that's where the 2 comes from. It's a minus, that's the difference, and it's a perfect square and a perfect square. So this is an example of a difference of two squares. We want to write this as a product of what would be multiplied out to create it. To do that, we need to get just the first term, just the last term, and have the middle terms cancel out. In the two binomials that would multiply together to do this, we need to put in the first slot what would multiply together to get x squared, this first term. And that would need an x and an x. In the last slots, we need what would multiply together to get this last term. That would be a y and a y. But in order to get the middle terms to cancel out from the outers and the inners, we need a plus and a minus. So that's the factorization in general for the difference of two squares. Now let's look at an example. Suppose we were to factor 25x squared minus 36. When I look at this, I see two different terms, and there are no common factors between the two terms. Next, with the two terms, I see if it's a difference, which it is, and then I see if everything is a perfect square. 25 is 5 squared, x squared is a perfect square, and 36 is 6 squared. So I do have everything in the first term being a perfect square and everything in the last term being a perfect square. Now let's go ahead and set up our two sets of parentheses. And in the first terms of each of these parentheses, we need to write what we would multiply together to get 25x squared. So in each of those first terms, we need a 5x, because 5x times 5x is how we would get 25x squared. In both last slots, we need to write what we would multiply together to get 36. So here we would need a 6 and a 6, because 6 times 6 is the 36 that we need in order to get this last term. But to get the middle terms to cancel out, we need one of them to be a plus and the other one to be a minus. And that's the factorization of 25x squared minus 36.